What's up everybody, Tim from Tierfon Orbital here. A new hilt that's not Corran horn related or a speeder bike hilt, believe it or not. Hey everybody, Tim again. Just wanted to do a quick rundown video on my most recent original hilt. This hilt will be a regular offering on my Etsy page. So just like all of my other videos, I wanted to do a description on the outside of the hilt, what went into the chassis design, do a little quick demo, and we'll be done with it, right? I did post some pictures, some glamour shots online for this hilt, but I feel like there are some accents and some stuff going on the outside that does not convey well through pictures, so I just wanted to show that off in a video. And without further ado, let's get into it, right? So I guess I should put the grip on. So I'm calling this the Cimmerian Nova. This is a full custom saber shop MHS body with some extra accents on the outside. Story behind this is, a couple of months ago, it was actually probably just a month ago, Custom Saber Shop did an auction for scratch and dent parts, and I thought, why not? I use a lot of Custom Saber Shop parts in some of my regular builds, so I just like threw a bid in on the auction, and I won. And I thought I want to do a different hilt than I usually do. So I've been doing a lot of speeder bike stuff, a lot of Corran horn stuff, and I wanted to do something that was a little cheaper than my other builds. Like, you know, my other builds have a lot of crystal chamber stuff, and they can tend to be a little bit more pricey because they're a little bit more intricate and detailed builds. But I wanted to have something that was a little more accessible and cheaper, right? So I dug around in this box of parts that I got from Custom Saber Shop and came out with a general look. And then from there, I just let the creative, flag fly, right? And this is the first time I've been able to do that in a while, and I loved it. I just let inspiration take hold and just kind of ran with it, right? So I didn't really have a huge plan as to what I wanted this hilt to look like. I just threw some parts together, and as it started evolving, I thought to myself, hey, well, that'd be cool with a D-ring. Why don't we get some 3D printed accents or greeblies on the outside that are behind a steel baffling tube, and that's what I ended up doing. So there she is, okay? So like what we usually do, I will talk about the outside of the hilt, we'll take the grip off, we'll take a look at the inside, we'll take a look at the chassis and what I did with designing the chassis, and then we'll put a blade in it, and I'll let you be on your way. Here it is. The outside is all full Custom Saber Shop MHS. These are all MHS V1 parts, so it's the thicker grip. Down at the bottom, MHS pommel. This is a pommel cover that I faux bronzed with a chemical bronzing agent. We've got a Custom Saber Shop switch holder that I just added as a greebly. There's a hex screw here that's holding that in. I put a threaded hole. Around the back, we've got a D-ring. So I'm a fan of D-rings. I like the rattle that D-rings give, but I've heard people complain that they don't like D-rings because they rattle so much. They prefer CoverTech wheel. I like the old school look of D-rings, so I made a compromise and put a nice D-ring mount on this pommel, but inside of that mount is a magnet, so it keeps the D-ring from shaking around while you're swinging it. That's completely unnecessary, but again, this was one of those inspiration things that, as the hilt was coming together, I thought to myself, well, that's a steel D-ring. Why not put a magnet in it to keep it from rattling around? And here we are. Coming up, we've got MHS grip, small beauty ring. We've got a steel baffling that is covering some gold greeblies on the inside, and we'll take a look at that when I take the grip off. The switches. So we'll start with this KR pixel switch. This is the first time I've used a KR pixel switch in a build, and I gotta say, it's awesome. I love it. I can't stand AV switches. I think they look terrible. I don't like the way they feel. This is a great compromise in that It's got a tactile button on the inside of the housing, so you get that clicky feel, but there's also a 6 neopixel ring around there's like a breadboard or a board with 6 neopixels in a circle, and there's a small tactile switch in the middle. For the price point with this switch compared to the LED switches that Custom Saber Shop has, I mean, it's a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for me. I was going to put an regular LED switch, but for $26, it's a little much for me, just for a simple LED switch. The KR switches, the pixel switches, are like 12 bucks unwired, so I thought it was a great accent. Got it in brass. Okay, and we'll turn that on. When I turn the hilt on, you'll see it lights up. Around the back, we've got a momentary switch in brass. This is a brass switch top. Faux bronze this thin neck-ish part. This is not technically a thin neck in my opinion, but it's thinner here. Faux bronze, finish that and put a clear coat over it. Coming around the top, we've got a red thumb screw from Custom Saber Shop that I weathered a little bit. Unfortunately, this was not long enough to use as a blade retention screw, but it is threaded in here. Around the back, there is a small brass grub screw that acts as the blade retention. Up top, we've got a custom-made blade plug that's got a steel piece on the inside that I heat stained and some copper as well. And around that emitter ring or some copper rods or copper tubing as well, just as accents. So that's the outside. Let's talk about what I did to the chassis. With all of my chassis, I designed them either in Shape or 3D on the iPad to get a general idea of the shape, and then I bring it into Fusion, or I do full Fusion. This is the chassis for this build. And same with the hilt body itself. This chassis just started off as a regular blank tube, and I just started adding greeblies. I'll sit on the couch, throw on a movie, and just start adding stuff. And I think with this one, I didn't add too much and I didn't add too little. I think it's just enough, not overkill. I didn't do it as detailed as my Corran horn chassis. I didn't put any physical like resistors or anything on the outside, just kept it as is. So there's room for a 28mm speaker. We've got a kill switch here. I added 2 channels to the side of the chassis here. Initially, I wanted to put brass strips inside of these channels to act as a accent, but also to act as protecting it from rubbing on the inside of the grip. I've been doing that a lot. But sure enough, when I printed this out, these were the perfect size for some 30 or 15-15 neopixel strips. So I put those on the chassis, and we'll see that in the up and close of the chassis. Battery compartment, Proffie board sits in this tray, and wire management can come out through the top here. Also with this hilt, I designed some greebie electronic engine compartment accents to go around the part of the other thinner neck area. And that's just a quick look at those. Sorry, am I making you dizzy? So those I also designed in Fusion. I designed it as one complete ring and then split it. That way I could epoxy it to the body of the hilt. And we'll take a look at that now, right? So let's unscrew the grip. So there's those ridiculous neopixels that are completely unnecessary, but I don't know. I've been putting them in some of my recent chassis. I'm a sucker for bright lights and cool looking chassis, so here we are, right? Yeah, you can't even see. So did paint the chassis, did a rub and buff in silver on it, and then on top of that I added some oil staining in some of these vents. I did paint some copper and brass accents just to give it a little bit of a more dynamic look. There's a 28mm speaker, kill switch. Here is that electronics accent piece that I was talking about that I showed you in Fusion. I painted this in a gold and then epoxied each clamshell to the body of the hilt. I think it looks cool. When you put the grip on, it lives behind this baffling, so you don't really see it unless you're looking closely. But of course, when you take the grip off, then you really get a good look at it. Let's take a look at, so this pixel switch, what I love about these pixel switches is they are also addressable. obviously, with any NeoPixel. So you can get any kind of animation. You can get a turbine ring in there. It'll flash on clash. You know, anything that you can do with a blade animation, you can do with these switches, which is really cool, right? So back up top, let's throw a blade in it really quick. This is that blade plug that I was talking about. I just did this in the VoxLab translucent resin, and I put a steel. This is actually, believe it or not, this is from an old vape tank that was made out of steel. I have a bunch of these laying around, and they're all steel. So, as with anything steel, I love to heat stain them, and it just makes it look a lot nicer. So, heat stain that and put a copper tube inside of it. I don't know if you can even see that. But yeah. Okay, let's put a blade. I really would have liked that red thumb screw to be a blade retention, but the threading was not long enough. So I'm sure I can probably find longer threaded ones somewhere, but this is what I had on hand, right? So here we are. Great feeling hilt. It's that thicker MHS V1 diameter build. It's a little bit thicker in the hand, but I'm fine with that. I actually have giant sausage fingers, so it fits well in my hand. So that was just a really, really quick rundown on my most recent offering. This will be available on the Etsy today. It's live already, actually. And yeah, I think that's it. I really appreciate you watching. As I always say at the end of each video, if anyone needs any help or has any questions or comments, leave them down below or ping me. I'm always trying to make myself available, and I hope you enjoyed it. And with that being said, may the force be with you, and have a good day.